Hi, and welcome to part one of a two-part video series on creating a portable PHP development environment. Now, this is primarily for students or people who don't have a permanent computer that they can do their development work on. The idea being you can just use your USB stick, plug it into any computer, and make use of these tools. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be installing a piece of software known as Laragon. And basically what Laragon is a bit of software that puts together everything you need to create your own private web server, I guess you'd say, which is what you'll need for developing PHP apps like WordPress and others. Okay, so without further ado, what you're going to need for this is a USB drive, preferably a blank one. I've got a 16 gig one here, and I've just formatted it so it's all nice and clean. You're going to need at least 2 gigs size-wise for this sort of work. Preferably faster ones, so USB 2 or higher. I would probably recommend USB 3, assuming, of course, you've got a USB 3 port to plug it into. But it'll just make the app run a bit quicker for you. Okay, so once we've got that up and running, we are then going to go to the website. So we're after Laragon. And it's laragon.org. It's the website we're after. Okay, and from here we'll go to the downloads, and we will download the version of Laragon we want. Seeing as most people using this are probably going to be beginners, I'm going to recommend going with the full version. That way you've just got everything you're going to need straight up without any trouble. Okay, so you click on that link and download it. I've already done this to save a bit of time, so I'll just jump straight over to my desktop here where I've downloaded it to. And this is basically the installation file. So what we're going to do first is we're going to copy that file onto our USB drive. So I'll just drag and drop it over there to copy it. And this might take a little bit of time. And the reason we're actually copying the install file over is because sometimes you'll come across a computer that mightn't necessarily have the right supporting software to run Laragon properly. And in those cases, you'll just have to run the installer again to make it work. Okay, so once we've copied that across, we will double click on the Laragon full exe, and that should start the installer for us. It'll probably ask for some permissions along the way, so we'll just go yes. It'll ask us what language we want to use for the installation. So you just select your relevant language. And then we get the initial setup. We just click next again. And now it'll want to know where we want to install. Now in my case, my USB drive is drive D. So we're going to install it on drive D in a folder called Laragon. Okay. You could also click on browse here and change it here if you wanted to. But that's going where I want it to. So we'll just click next. Now we'll have three options here. Because we're going to be using this as a portable app, I would make sure that the first option is not selected. So we don't want it to run when Windows starts. The second one, we'll select that because we're going to want our pretty URLs for reasons that'll be clear a bit later. And quick ways to open the text editor and command prompt. It wants to add things to our right-click menu. We don't want to do that because we mightn't necessarily be using this on this computer. Okay, so we only have the middle one selected and go next. And then we click on install. Now, depending on the speed of your USB drive, this could take a little bit of time. Okay, so once that's done, you can see it's completing the Laragon setup wizard. And we've got a few more checkboxes here. Now, we don't want to read the README file, so we'll leave that unchecked. And we'll leave the Run Laragon checked and click Finished. And hopefully it'll open up for us. And there we go. Here's our Laragon window. Now, just a few things to take note of with the window. They've sort of made some of the options a bit unclear, whereas down the bottom here you've got clearly defined buttons. Up the top here they're a bit more vague. So obviously the menu text will get into the menu. The little cog will get you into some settings. And yeah, a few other up there. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, now to make Laragon run, once the app has started, we click on Start All. And what this will do is it will start up the web server, which is known as Apache in this case. And it will also start up our MySQL database program, which will be pretty much everything we need to start developing PHP applications. Okay. Now, depending on the speed of your USB stick, you might get a not responding message on your window here occasionally over this next little bit. Generally, it works itself out, so just be patient with it and let it do its thing. It only takes longer generally on this first startup time. After that, it's normally pretty good. But like I said, that will depend on the speed of your USB drive. Okay, so everything should be happy when you see you've got Apache, which is our web server, and the number at the end is the actual port number for it. And you should also see underneath that the MySQL and the port number of 3306. Now, if they're both up and going, you should be right to go. So just as a quick test, we'll click on this web button down the bottom. And if everything's working, you should see the Laragon text on your web browser. Okay. So we'll just close that down for now. Rightio. And if we just refresh our file view here, you'll see that we've now got a Laragon folder. Okay. Now, with portable apps, it's very important to remember to close everything down properly before you pull out the drive. Okay, so in the case of Laragon, what we do is, first we've got to stop the MySQL and Apache services. So we just click on the stop button, which will stop all that. And then we click on the menu and click on exit to properly close Laragon. Okay. Once that's done, it'll be right to remove the USB drive without hurting anything. Okay. Now, the next thing you might want to do as a bit of quality of life is put a shortcut up here at the top level of the drive, pointing to our Laragon exe. Okay, so we'll go to the top level of the drive and we'll just right click, and we want to create a new shortcut. And then we can just click on Browse. We go back into our USB drive, into our Laragon folder, and click on the Laragon exe, go OK, click Next. And then we might want to give it the shortcut a better name, so we'll just go with Start Laragon. Click Finish. And so now we've got a shortcut at the top level of the USB drive to start up Laragon with. So if we just double click on that, up it comes. Rightio, so that's how we get Laragon installed and running on a USB stick. In the next part, we'll be looking at installing VS Code onto this USB stick. It's completely optional. You can start developing from here if you're happy to use Notepad++, because Laragon actually has Notepad++ built into it under its tools here. Okay, but I prefer VS Code, so I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay,